I want to focus this training on the principle of unwinding. To me, this is huge. This is so key right now for anyone who is interested in adjusting and orienting to the physics of the new season. In fact, I often say in our seminars and retreats, my interest, if you're having a challenge or an issue or some situation going on, right? The key to that situation is being able to figure out, okay, how do you change the physics of that situation? Right? If you can't change the physics of it, well, then you have to live with it, right? Some knee or a shoulder. If you have something going on and you can't change the physics of it, you have to kind of live with that experience. And the yogi that I learned from was really clear, right? That karma is it's like a wave, right? And what defines, it's the motion, right? So in the wave, the previous moment defines the next moment experience of that wave. So it's inertia. Karma is inertia. How that translates to people's lives is, well, whatever you're bringing with you from your previous moment to your next moment, injury, cell memory, emotion, belief, whatever, if you bring it to your next moment, you've just defined the next moment reality. To give a little background, my background's in cranial work. I then stopped doing cranial work and went and hung around with yogis. And so to me, I from my experience doing cranial work, I understood and appreciated how important and amazing it is to be able to take any given thing that's going on and invite it to unwind. Kind of like if you had rubber band and it was tight. Well, if you want to really use that rubber band, it's all like this. Well, you have to be able to invite it to unwind. And once you have that ability, then you can unwind rubber bands. Well, from my perspective, everything in this condition, in the body and this experience, and the body in particular is coordinated in some way with the craniosacral rhythm. And the craniosacral rhythm is this very subtle pulse that gently moves the sheaths around the brain and spinal cord to go gently in and then out. It's called flexion and extension. Go in, slower than the breath, and as it moves, it very gently moves cerebral spinal fluid, the discs. It's like kind of like a hydraulic system, very subtle, and there are nerves that come in between each disc. And so when it moves, you have this integrity, and there's motion, there's movement with the entire system. The joints move, the fluids move, the fascia moves. Everything kind of goes in and out. So the entire kind of cellular situation is threaded and connected vis-a-vis this rhythm. And so in cranial work, there's an understanding that the rhythm is moving. For people often that get an injury or been knocked around a bunch, or the rhythm can then get kind of backed up, and then it gets pressure, and other things start to, so in systems, the nerves get compressed, things don't function. So if you can gently unwind this rhythm and get and reestablish this integrity, then everything starts to interact and kind of like this. Well, they also show you something in the process called still point, which is when you take the rhythm and you kind of invite it to gently collapse it. And to me, this is key. I can't say this enough. When I learned cranial work, I love the cranial rhythm. Yet to me, there's a lot of over-focus on the cranial rhythm in folks that do cranial work. To me, the key, when I learned still point, I was like in love with still point. Right away, I was like, back then, Deepak had come out with this theory of cell memory, right? Which, this is a ways back. And basically he said, well, if the body's new in 7 or 8 years, why would someone have an injury 10, 15, 20 years later? And what he came out with was that the cells, if there's an injury or a shock, new cells keep coming in, yet the old cell passes the information from the shock or the injury to the new cell then acts and behaves like the old cell, even though it's a brand new cell. Well, when I heard that, my head immediately went to, well, how do you clear that cell memory? I was practicing cranial work back then. Deepak, when he came out with it, didn't really share how to clear it. And so I immediately, in my head, considered the cassette, right? If you have a cassette, or considered that still point is how you, if you have a cassette and you want to erase or what's on it, you hit erase. Well, erase flips the polarity and it goes neutral and the information's gone. Well, what I did for years is people come to me with injuries or issues. If you find the rhythm, it's like flipping the polarity, positive, negative, and then whoosh, collapse it in neutral and still point. Information gone. And it works. I did this for years. It's fantastic. People come to me, I was busy. I wouldn't really do a ton of cranial work. Really, I'd do points and unwind the fascia, find the rhythm, and then I'd collapse whatever adhesions or anomalies were going on. Contractions. Well, I stopped doing that at a certain point, and I got kind of burnt out. I'd unwind people, they'd come back 2 weeks later, they were contracted again, and I just kind of got burnt out doing it. Everyone take a nice big breath in. I want to share with you how to drop in still point. Take a nice breath in. Stop right at the top. Hold for a moment. Feels like holding the breath. Let the breath keep going like it does when you rest. On its own, it's good at doing its own thing, yet you stay here in the space between the breath. In my life, every 10, 15 minutes, I check in, reset, drop back in, still point. All right, so it wasn't, I learned about still point from Yogi. Yogi said he lived in the space between the breath. I had been using still point in the work that I was doing when I met the yogi, and they basically said, well, we're just going to organize reality from this place. From that day on, in my life, I organize reality from this place. And it's key, because when you're neutral, when you're here in still point, you don't try holding a thought or an emotion. Not so easy. So some while later, I got involved with lasers because of a dental infection I was dealing with, which I'm not going to get into too much for now. Suffice to say that I used laser and completely cleared out the infection above the front tooth, regrew the bone. And then one day I was playing with light. I was basically trying different things with the waves. And I found if I did a certain thing with the laser light, not frequency, everyone's doing frequency. I'm not that drawn to frequency. Frequency is simply how fast something goes from one point to another. It goes fast, not so fast. It's still linear either way. So what we do, it was changing the linear nature of that wave, which is the same thing that still point does. Still point, breath, cranial rhythm, positive, negative. You go into the space between the breath, whoosh, neutral. Well, I discovered when I was playing around with waves that if I did a very specific thing to the light, I felt my cranial rhythm start to unwind. And as soon as I experienced that, I was very intrigued. I was like, that's incredible. That's really neat. That light could induce dissolution and unwinding. And so that's really when we began to get into laser, because that's something, from my perspective, that every person here on planet Earth should, one, understand how the system works, right? If you hold on to things from previous moments, yogis call it karma, I call it polarity. If you hold on to things, you're going to experience them again. If you can dissolve and bring things into neutral, resets. So our products and technologies are designed really exclusively. I mean, the basis of the whole approach is designed to unwind any kind of cell memory contraction going on in one's condition. And for folks that own the laser, I want to kind of show you how to do that. And I tell people, if you own our laser, the first thing you do is turn it on, put it in your hand for a moment. And simply wait 5-10 seconds. And all you're looking for is, when do you feel your body start to go into what we call an unwind? Like, that feels great. I'm on the first program for me right now. If it doesn't feel great, go to the second program, quantum. That one feels even better. So that's how I pick what program I'm going to do. I go to each one. Same thing you do when you watch TV, right? You go to one, no, you don't like, you go to the next. When you find one you like, you breathe, you sigh, you take a breath. Exact same thing. We have lay people, we have practitioners, we have osteopaths, we have chiropractors, sports teams, doctors, hospitals, yogis, all kinds of people. 25,000 people around the planet use our products. So put the first one on, put the second. When you find the one that has this nice unwinding, where you feel the key thing you want to feel is your body going like this. Unwinding, unwinding. Now, once you find that program that puts you into that unwind, now you want to pick one thing that's going on in your experience. Could be a physical thing, could be a knee, could be a shoulder, could be your liver, could be your stomach, could be your brain, could be your whole condition, could be a chakra, could be an emotion, doesn't matter what the thing is. One thing I found in my life is that most issues that I have going on are similar in that they are tight. Most issues, pain, stress, emotion, you name it, digestive issue, migraine. Most issues are tight, contraction. So if you can find that thing, and again, the key to our technology is in the sacred scalar approach to what we're doing with the waves. We're basically inducing inside the light subtle scalar waves, different than any other scalar system on the planet. All other scalar energy devices I've tried are very strong and stimulating. To me, I only like things that are subtle. I shouldn't say that entirely, but it's kind of accurate. I really like things that are subtle. To me, the juice of the universe and beyond is in the subtle state of being. Cranial system, subtle. The glands, I'm really big. The reason I didn't pursue osteopathy and cranial work, I love cranial work, yet the key from my perspective is the yogic state is still point. And the key to holding, in other words, the key to holding one's cranial rhythm in a state of still point in integrity are the glands. And glands work through a principle called entrainment, which is why I tell people, if your glands are entrained and they're releasing adrenaline, cortisol. Entrainment's like when women live in a house together, their cycles come together. When you grow up around your family, people get entrained to the people they're around, cultural. People get entrained here. And so from my perspective, the key is to unwind the adrenal entrainment and then to start to get the glands. When the thymus gland opens, the pineal and pituitary gland, the subtle yogic anatomy, then it conditions and activates one's expression and state of being. And this is simply a very subtle healing instrument tool technology to assist in that process. Again, the scalar waves inside, and let me explain one more thing. Scalar energy, Tesla was into scalar, right? Longitudinal transverse waves go like this, right? They're moving in a direction, past, present, future, linear. A scalar wave, Tesla called them standing waves. If you take the past and the future and weave it into the present, it looks like this. Any wave that looks like this, you have positive, negative, and neutral, like the medical symbol or the nadis along the spine. Positive, negative, perfect symmetry. When they're in perfect symmetry, they collapse like the chakras, right? The nadis collapse, they open up a chakra. Tesla said there were scalar energies all around. To me, scalar energy is the same as prana, chi, universal energy. Same thing. It's nonlinear energy that the universe is teeming with. And the key to accessing this unlimited energy of the universe is to have your own condition oriented towards scalar. And the first step in that process is to drop into still point, right? So everyone take breath in, stop right at the top. When you hold still point, positive, negative, breath, positive, negative. Still point's the neutral. That's a scalar, positive, negative, neutral. Scalar is simply a full waveform progression. When you hold still point, it starts to activate the subtle sacred scalar energy along the spine. We cover that in another session. For now, the key principle is understanding the importance of being able to unwind whatever's going on in your condition. Every day, pick one or two things to unwind. Maybe you start with an injury, a situation. Maybe it's an organ. I show people how to unwind the organs, how to unwind the digestive system, how to unwind. We have a base protocol unwinding the adrenals, the tailbone sacrum, which is hugely important, and the occipital ridge, the sphenoid, the vagus nerve, and the sphenoid. Those three things, adrenals, tailbone, sacrum, occipital ridge, vagus nerve, and sphenoid, those three things helps to keep one oriented in a nonlinear state. We call still point, we call the quantum field, where the energy that surrounds the body opens. Subtle faculty, subtle body. Our approach is slightly different. It's based on our experience of what's happening in the new season, new moment here on planet Earth, this new season. I always tell people, don't believe me, don't trust me. This is experience that I'm having, and I tell people, try it. You try, you see. This laser technology that we've developed, I don't want to get too into the products. Sign up if you're interested in finding out more about our products. And we also have a whole training, online program, online training, subtle yogic training program for still point lasers, for unwinding, and opening into what we call the quantum field. And for activating the scalar energy along the spine, for opening up the glands, for basically expressing and flowering your state of being here at this moment on planet Earth, which is key. That is what our planet, this is key. We don't come from the previous moment here. The old season was about growing your perception relative to previous moments you had here on planet Earth. That was nice. Perhaps it was a little bit redundant. Things keep happening. You know, people keep repeating the same. New season is about coming from who we really are, right? It's coming from, not the past, coming from being. Expressing through this subtle condition, through the glands, through who we truly are. What we're here to express and share. All our products are designed to help assist in that journey of opening up and into the new season, abiding in the new season, and expression of one's essence and being. And it's key to understand how unwinding is essential. If you can't unwind, it's like having a computer and you open things and you can't close them. You've got to be able to understand how to close. You've got to be able to unwind your cell memory, unwind different things that happen, and reset them into neutral, reset them into neutral. It's a 101 for anyone who has a human body. You can't just hold on to all these contractions, karma, and expect someone to come and do it for you. Got to be able to clear these different things so much as you can. Otherwise, you just repeat them into the next moment. And the key thing, I want to cover this really clear, is, to me, there are three key states. Positive, negative, neutral. And everything in this whole play, elements, stars, everything is in an orbit that between positive, negative, neutral. Cells, everything is in this condition, positive, negative, neutral, that's in this whole equation here. Contraction is the planet. The planet is this thing spinning. It's like that ride at the carnival. It's spinning around and you get pulled back. That wasn't my thing. The planet is I always joke. I said, there's a planet. I said, there's not that planet. It's not the right ride. It spins and it pulls you. And then I was here and I said, it pulls you into the body. That's contraction, positive. The galaxy is this big galaxy spinning around. When you unwind, the cranial rhythm is it's the galactic rhythm. The whole galaxy is going like an axis, positive, negative, and spin. It's like if you had a bottle of water and you spun it around, everything would line up and be going a rhythm this way and this way. Everything in this galaxy is dimensionally relative, the cranial rhythm, to that galactic rhythm. Back and forth. So you got contraction. You want to unwind contraction. The galactic rhythm is the unwinding, like the rubber band. It's tight, you unwind it. Well, yogis, mystics, all understand still point. They call it the space between the breath. They call it the breathless state. I call it still point. When you acclimate to this state, what does it do? Neutral. It shifts your condition out of the galactic state of that flux of going back and forth and into the universal, the state that's the state between the galaxies. There is no polarity condition going on. It's neutral. So again, three things. And everything that's come into this creative expression, is going through that. If you want to be effective at your interaction, at your experience here, you've got to be versed. It's like if you jumped into the ocean and you went down and then you went and landed on the bottom. Well, in order to be effective, you've got to be able to kind of get back up to the top, get out of it, and like that, right? Well, if you came here and you came through the universe, through the galactic state and onto the planet that's pulling into a contraction, you've got to understand the language, the nature of these different states. Contraction, unwinding, cranial rhythm, still point, yogic state, neutral. And if you're versed in that, the way I go through life is I cultivate the condition of being here in neutral. Because I don't experience my reality as coming from the universe, from the galaxy, or from this star and this planet. My experience comes from a state of being. And so we have to be, it's like if you went scuba, right? You'd take on the scuba gear, you'd go down, and if you identified that the scuba gear was who you are, well, it's when the scuba gear ran out of the oxygen, your experience is done, right? You got to get out, go back through the different states, take off the scuba, and then there you are. In the same way, we got to be able to dissolve and unwind and collapse anything physical, anything emotional, anything psychic. We got to be able to collapse and dissolve those things. Then we got to be able to hold neutral, hold still point. And then we activate with the subtle yogic process that we share, practice, and the glands, and opening into state of being, arriving back into being and expression. So this was a overview of the importance of unwinding and the cranial system, and how we in our approach, we also do processes which we share in our online training portal with how, if you don't have laser, how to go and welcome something. We call welcoming. You welcome an injury. How to go up to it and say aloha and welcome it and allow it to go through that unwinding and then to reset back into neutral. How to do it with an emotion or a cell memory, an emotion, a program that's not working for you. Got to be able to do it, whether you have technology or your own perception, to be able to dissolve things so you can collapse it, reset, get back here to neutral. And open up to being. So good work, everyone. It's always special. I love to be a part of this whole expression. And it's a special moment on planet Earth. It's a strong moment on planet Earth right now. And it's also a strong moment, and it's important that those who have the ability and the opportunity to open up to who they truly are and express in the fullness of being, do so. That is what we on planet Earth, we are here to cultivate this new moment, this new season. And so I thank you for being a part of this and for being here. I always appreciate getting to do this in any moment, and also doing it with others.